this video, I'll give you the top waiver wire players to target going into week 14. I'm Jim Coventry of RotoWire. Let's start with quarterback. Aiden O'Connell threw for 340 yards and a pair of touchdowns against what's now a vulnerable Kansas City defense regardless. Aiden O'Connell got the ball to Brock Bowers. You got it to Jacoby Myers. Look good. Raiders are probably going to trail off and going forward, and O'Connell is a solid quarterback 2 option in a good matchup. Bryce Young, Carolina Panthers, got to bring him up. 2 solid games in a row. Now, like we said, we saw Aiden O'Connell do well against the Chiefs. Now, Bryce Young's games against the Chiefs make a little more sense, but Bryce Young played the Bucs, another bad defense, but Bryce Young in both weeks has brought his team back and put him in contention to win these games late. He is not the same quarterback he was, who I said probably does not belong in an NFL field earlier in the season. Something happened. He's a different quarterback. I think he's someone you can consider as a quarterback 2. Mac Jones of the Jacksonville Jaguars, very unfortunate. Trevor Lawrence, cheap shot by Azeez El-Shaair to his head. Lawrence comes off on a cart and he has a concussion. Don't know how much time he'll miss, but if he misses time, obviously Mac Jones moves into a starting role. And in 2 quarterback leagues, any quarterback has instant value. Not that it's much, but it's value. Running backs. Sincere McCormick of the Las Vegas Raiders stepped in with Zamir White and Amir Abdullah out, took the lead in the backfield against Kansas City, 12 carries, 64 yards. Now, it's possible that when Madison and Zamir White return, it's possible that Sincere McCormick holds on to an early down role in the offense. No guarantees here, but he did look good over 5 yards per carry, so it's possible the team wants to see what they have with the season. Definitely out of contention. Jonathan Brooks of the Carolina Panthers. Significant usage compared to last week. First week 12, his debut, just 2 touches. We were very concerned. Well, very different in week 13. Against the Buccaneers, 9 touches, 6 on the ground, 3 targets. Chip Hubbard had no targets, so 41 yards. So Jonathan Brooks looked good. Chuba Hubbard lost a fumble that potentially cost Carolina the game. I know they paid Hubbard, but Brooks could be in for an expanded role very soon. Chris Rodriguez of the Washington Commanders. This one may not be the greatest ad, but he did rush for 94 yards and a touchdown against the Titans. Most of that production came in garbage time. Washington had this game under control early, so it may have been a 1-week opportunity. But with Austin Eckler out till at least week 18, Jeremy McNichols, not a great back. I know Chris Rodriguez is similar in some ways to Brian Robinson in terms of they like to run inside, but there could be a role for him, and we need running back, so look at Chris Rodriguez. Raheem Mostert of the Miami Dolphins, he had taken a deep backseat to Jalen Wright. Before week 13, for a couple weeks, he was like very seldom used. Well, all of a sudden, Mostert went back to 35% of the snaps. Didn't see a ton of volume, but again, if he's going to have that number 2 role in the offense, if he earned it back or something was wrong with him. That said, he could see targets, he could see red zone work, and again, if Devon Achane misses time, Mostert may be back in line. So if he's on the waiver wire, take a look at him. Finally, Kamani Vidal. Look, he only had 4 rushing attempts against Atlanta, but the starter, Gus Edwards, only had 6. Now, maybe a lower volume running game with no J.K. Dobbins for a while. But look, the Chargers do want to run the ball. They didn't run much in this game, but Vidal had almost as many carries as Edwards. And again, might be a stash. See what happens. If you enjoy videos like this, please consider hitting the like button and subscribe to the RotoWire Fantasy Football channel on YouTube. Also, you can check out all of our content, fantasy football, all sports, and our rankings. You can get a free 2-day trial. You don't even need a credit card. Just go to rotowire.com/Jim. You can check out all of our content. If you like it, we'd love if you join the team. If not, we're just happy you stopped by and took a look. All right, let's go to wide receiver next. Adam Thielen. Now, Thielen has played very well in each of his last 2 games since returning from injured reserve. In last week's game, he was actually interfered on what should have been a touchdown against Kansas City. Then he had a 2-point conversion, and he got speared with somebody's helmet, personal foul, not his fault. This week's game, he had a play that would have been a touchdown, called not a touchdown. They review it. Everybody watching it, it was 100% a touchdown. Replay didn't overturn it, so he got stuck there. Well, Thielen, late in the game, actually scores a go-ahead touchdown for Carolina with like less than a minute left. Thielen ends up at 99 yards and a touchdown. He has been very busy. He has a very good connection with Bryce Young. Theoretically, his legs are fresh. Adam Thielen's a great option. Marquez Valdes-Scantling of the New Orleans Saints continues to score touchdowns at an incredible rate. It literally has like 8 catches and 4 touchdowns in 3 games. But that's the problem. There's not a lot of targets. But He's, in a way, their de facto number one receiver. They don't have anybody carving out a role. He is a deep threat, and we know this offense wants to throw the ball deep. Very boom or bust. But again, he showed a decent connection with Derek Carr. Brandon Cooks of the Dallas Cowboys, he returned from injured reserve on Thanksgiving, had 7 targets, scored a short touchdown, very little yardage. It's tough to bet on a receiver with Cooper Rush at quarterback, and Cooks, he's over 30, so a little concern there. But hey, if you need a receiver, he could be the second wide receiver option. Jake Ferguson, when healthy, is probably the second option in the offense. You can probably stream him if you need some help. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Look, got to keep bringing him up. He has 20 catches on the air. 8 of those found in the end zone. Completely unsustainable. But he scored 7 touchdowns in 8 games. So at some point, yeah, it's going to dry up, but it hasn't dried up yet. Thought it would dry up 4 weeks ago. It hadn't. So again, if you're willing to take the dice roll on Westbrook-Ikhine scoring a touchdown, might be a play with 6 teams on bye in week 14. Demarcus Robinson, Los Angeles Rams, scored 6 touchdowns over the Rams' last 6 games. Veteran, plays over 70% of the snaps. Usually sees 4 targets. Robinson, now he did have some kind of an injury to his hand late in the game. It was unclear as of this recording as to what it was. Keep an eye on that. But otherwise, look, Robinson's going to get you some points each week. And if you need help, again, bye weeks coming up, take a look. Andre Yoshivas of the Cincinnati Bengals, he lacks upside. He has between 29 and 46 yards in each of the last 3 games. But here's my point. The Bengals are really close to being out of playoff contention. There is a possibility, and it may not happen, that Yoshivas may see more work, even Jermaine Burton, when this team falls further out of the playoff race. Don't know what they'll do. But again, these might be speculative bets for the fantasy playoffs. Finally, Parker Washington. We throw him in here because he had 103 yards and a touchdown against the Texans, but he had literally done 10 yards or less in all of the games he had played since Christian Kirk took over. We saw last year he had 1 big game and then he disappeared. But again, if you need a dart throw for 1 week, Parker Washington may be a possibility. Tight end, Pat Freiermuth. Surprisingly, last 2 weeks, he's back in the target zone. He had been getting 2 to 3 targets for about 6 weeks. Well, last week he had 4 and he had over 50 yards. This week, another big game, scores a touchdown, 7 targets. If Arthur Smith decides to keep featuring Freiermuth, we know he's a good receiver, and there could be production in this offense. Noah Gray didn't find the end zone this time after scoring 2 touchdowns in 2 straight games. But he did record 58 yards again. So for 2 of the last 3 games. So that said, he's an integral part of the Kansas City offense. He's gonna get targets. He's gonna get red zone looks. He's not reliable, but he's had 3 good games in a row. Finally, if you're digging deep and you really, really, really need tight end help, Austin Hooper. I know he's a second tight end for the Patriots, but Hooper has 4 targets in 4 straight games. And in those contests, at least 35 yards in each game. He scored touchdown in the last 2. Hunter Henry's the guy. But Austin Hooper, if you're in a league where you need multiple tight ends, he's viable.